Keynes' liquidity preference theory of interest rate determination. Interest rate in the classical model are the real factors of the supply of saving and the demand for investment. But according to Keynes, he treated the rate of interest is purely a monetary phenomenon. His analysis concentrated on the demand for and supply of money as the determinant of the interest rate. Unlike classicals, they treated interest rate are the real factors of the supply of saving and the demand for investment. And he says interest is the price paid for borrowed funds, and the people like to keep cash with them rather than investing cash in assets. There is a preference for liquid cash, and out of their income intend to save a part of income. How much of their resources will be held in the form of cash and how much will be spent depend upon what Keynes calls liquidity preference. He says how much will hold in the form of cash and how much he want to spend depends upon what Keynes calls a liquidity preference. Cash being the most liquid assets, so people prefer cash. And interest is the reward for parting with liquidity. The rate of interest in the Keynesian theory is determined by the demand for money and supply of money. A demand for money. Demand for money is not to be confused with the demand for a commodity that people consume. Money is not consumed. The demand for money is a demand to hold an asset. Once more, money is not consumed. So the demand for money is a demand to hold an asset. The desire for liquidity or demand for money arises because of three motives. The first one is the transaction motive, the second is a precautionary motive, and third is a speculative motive. First one is the transaction demand for money. Here money is needed for day-to-day transactions, and the individual needs active balance in the form of cash to finance his transaction. So known as transaction demand for money or a need-based money. So directly depends on the level of income of an individual and business. Okay, so a transaction demand is a function of income. Again, the transaction demand for money or need-based money so directly depends on the level of an income of an individual and the businesses. Higher income keeps more liquid money at hand to meet their need-based transaction or here we say transaction demand for money or a need-based money. Higher income keeps more liquid money at hand to meet their need-based transactions. In other words, transaction demand for money is an increasing function of money income. Is an increasing function. Transaction demand for money is an increasing function of money. So here says the people with higher income keeps more liquid money at hand to meet their need-based transaction. Again say transaction demand for money is an increasing function of money income. Symbolically, TDM is a function of Y or F of Y. But transaction demand for money is a function of income. TDM equal to F of Y means transaction demand for money is a function of money. Transaction demand for money is an increasing function of money. That is why the higher income keeps more liquid money at hand to meet their need-based transactions. TDM stands for transaction demand for money and Y stands for money income. Precautionary demand for money. It's only because of our future is uncertain. That is why people do hold cash balances to meet unforeseen contingencies like sickness, death, accidents, danger of unemployment. In order to meet the uncertainty in the future, people hold cash balances. The amount of money held under this motive is what we call as ideal balance. It also depends on the level of money income of an individual. Here also, precautionary demand for money is also a function of income. PDM is a y of f of y. That means precautionary demand for money is a function of income. Higher income can afford to keep more liquid money to meet such emergencies. Here also, higher income can afford to keep more liquid money to meet such emergencies. Such emergencies means uncertainties happens in the future. That why we call as unforeseen contingencies like sickness, death, accidents, and danger of unemployment. The relationship between precautionary demand for money, PDM, and the volume of income is normally a direct one. So we call the demand for money for such type of motives. That's a precautionary demand for money is also an increasing function of money income like the transaction demand for money. The third one is a speculative demand for money. This sort demand for money is really Keynes contribution. This is Keynes contribution. This concept is Keynes contribution. Here he says a speculative motive refers to the desire or to hold one's assets in liquid form to take speculative advantages of future changes. Here what we see, uncertainties happens in the future. Under the precautionary demand, uncertainties happens in the future or unforeseen contingencies. What here is speculative motive refers to the desire to hold one's assets in liquid form to take speculative advantages of future changes in the rate of interest or bond price. Speculative advantages of future changes in the rate of interest or bond price. Okay, here he explained the relationship between the bond prices and the rate of interest. He says it's an inversely related to each other. So Keynes say the higher the rate of interest, lower the speculative demand for money. Bond price and rate of interest are inversely related to each other. The higher the rate of interest, lower the speculative demand for money. Lower the rate of interest, higher the speculative demand for money. If bond prices are expected to rise, people will now buy bonds. Here another expectation is rate of interest is expected to fall. What happens here? Here they expected the bond prices will rise in the future. So they buy bonds, or they expected the rate of interest to fall in the future. So people will now bonds and sell when their prices rise to have a capital gain. So people buy bonds when they expected the bond prices are rise. So they sell when their prices rise to have a capital gain. In such situation, bond is more attractive than cash, because here the rate of interest is expected to fall. So bond is more attractive than cash when they expected bond prices are rise and the rate of interest will fall in the future. If vice versa happens, when the bond prices are expected to fall in future, people now sell bonds to avoid capital loss. Here they buy bonds in order to get a capital gain in the future. Here they sell bonds to avoid capital loss. So their expectation here is the rate of interest should be raised in the future. So cash is more attractive than bond in this situation. Here bond is more attractive than cash if they expected bond prices should rise and the rate of interest is expected to fall. Here cash is more attractive than bond because they expected bond prices to fall and the rate of interest is expected to rise. Low rate of interest, liquidity preference is high, and the higher rate of interest, securities are more attractive. Okay. A speculative demand for money, SDM, varies inversely with the rate of interest. Here SDM is also F of R. That means speculative demand for money is a function of rate of interest, where R is the rate of interest. Algebraically, Keynes expressed the speculative demand for money as M2 equal to L2R. What is L2? L2 is a speculative demand for money. R is the rate of interest. Geometrically, it's a smooth curve which slopes downward from left to right. Total liquidity money is denoted by M. The transactions plus precautionary motives by M1 and the speculative motive by M2. So M equal to total liquid money equal to M1 plus M2. M1 equal to L1 into Y. L1Y means it's a function of income. M2 is a function of rate of interest. The total liquidity preference function is expressed as M equal to L into Y R. Total demand for money is the sum of all three types of demand for money. That means total demand for money, that's equal to transaction demand for money, precautionary demand for money, and speculative demand for money. Demand for money has a negative slope because of this, because of its inverse relationship between speculative demand for money and the rate of interest. Negative sloping liquidity preference curve becomes perfectly elastic at a low rate of interest. According to Keynes, there is a floor interest rate below which the rate of interest cannot fall. This minimum rate of interest indicates absolute liquidity preference of the people. This is what he called as a liquidity trap. There is a floor limit interest rate below which the rate of interest cannot fall. So the minimum rate of interest indicates absolute liquidity preference of the people. What Keynes called as a liquidity trap situation. That's a figure. This is the floor limit or minimum, and this is the ceiling. At the minimum rate of interest, that's R minimum, the curve is perfectly elastic. This portion, the curve is perfectly elastic. At the minimum rate of interest, the curve is perfectly elastic. DM, this is the liquidity preference curve. So perfectly elastic. And there is a ceiling interest rate. That's an R maximum, above which it cannot raise. The interest rate cannot raise after this point. R maximum, this is a ceiling limit. Interest rate fluctuates between R maximum and R minimum. The interest rate fluctuates between these points, R maximum and R minimum. And at R minimum, the curve is a perfectly elastic curve. In liquidity preference curve is a perfectly elastic. This is the floor limit and this is the ceiling. Interest rate fluctuates between these points, R maximum and R minimum. Supply of money refers to the total quantity of money in the country. It depends upon the policy of a central bank and it's a function of rate of interest fixed by the monetary authorities. Supply curve SM is taken as a perfectly inelastic curve, represented by vertical straight line. Perfectly inelastic curve is taken as a vertical straight line. Determination of rate of interest. Like the price of any product, the rate of interest is determined at the level where the demand for money equals the supply of money. The rate of interest is determined like the price of any product. It's also determined, the rate of interest is determined where the demand for money equals the supply of money. Is the following figure. The vertical line QM represents supply of money. This is a figure. QM represents the supply of money. Okay. And L is the total demand for money. L is the total demand for money. QM, so supply of money. L is the total demand for money. Both the curve intersects at E2 where equilibrium rate of interest or R is established. Both the curve, that means L is the total demand for money curve and QM represents the supply of money. QM represents supply of money. L, the total demand for money, intersects at the point E2 is an R level of interest rate. Okay, so now our level of interest rate and the level of money supply is OM. It's an equilibrium interest rate. What happens here? There is an example. Through the rate of interest and equilibrium E2, will be re-established. At point E1, the supply of money OM is greater than the demand for money OM1. Consequently, the interest will start declining from OR1 till the equilibrium rate of interest is OR reached. Okay. As here explain. When here the amount of money means the supply of money is greater than the demand for money. Here the supply of money is greater. At point E1, supply of money is greater than the demand for money. What happens is at the point E3. Here, supply of money is lower than the demand for money. Here, the demand for money is greater, and here the supply of money is greater. So this is the equilibrium point. E2 is the equilibrium point. The rate of interest declines and reached the equilibrium point. From here, the rate of interest is increased and reached to the E2 level, from E3 to E2 and E1 to E2. This is the equilibrium point. Here, the rate of interest is determined where the supply of money and the demand for money is equal, where the rate of interest is determined, and this is the equilibrium level of money, or the amount of money is suitable, and this is the equilibrium level of rate of interest. If the rate of or this point is not an equilibrium point, also this point is not an equilibrium point, here the supply of money is greater than the rate of interest, and here the demand for money is greater than the supply of money. This is an equilibrium point. What's the peculiarity is here? The equilibrium rate of interest and the supply of money. Okay. This is explained, and here is the greater the interest rate. If the supply of money is increased by the monetary authorities, the liquidity preference curve L remains the same. The rate of interest will fall. If the supply of money is increased by the monetary authorities, the liquidity preference curve, this is the liquidity preference curve. Okay, L is the liquidity preference curve. If the authority increases supply of money and the liquidity preference curve L remains the same, the rate of interest will fall. Supply of money will exceed the demand for money if the interest rate will fall, because supply of money is increased by the monetary authorities but the liquidity preference curve L remains the same, the interest rate will fall. In such situation, supply of money will exceed the demand for money. People will purchase more securities. Its price will rise, interest rate will fall until the demand for money becomes equal to the supply of money. This is the point. Okay, this is the point. What happens here? People will purchase more securities. Its price will rise and interest rate will fall until the demand for money becomes equal to the supply of money. On the other hand, if the rate of interest becomes less than or demand for money will exceed the supply of money, this is the point. Okay, what we explained earlier, here supply of money is greater than the demand for money. Here the demand for money is greater than the supply of money. If the rate of interest becomes less than or the demand for money will exceed the supply of money, people will sell their securities. What happens earlier? If supply of money is greater than the demand for money, people will purchase securities. Okay, if supply of money will exceed the demand for money, people will purchase securities. If the demand for money will exceed the supply of money, people will sell their securities. Price of securities will tumble and the rate of interest will rise until it reaches point E. Okay. The limitations. Keynes' liquidity preference theory is not free from criticism. Like the classicals and the neoclassical theories, Keynes' theory is an indeterminate one, no doubt. The Keynes theory suggests that DM and SM determine the rate of interest. Without knowing the level of income, we cannot know the transaction demand for money as well as the speculative demand for money. But he suggests that DM and SM or determine the rate of interest. He says that DM and SM determine the rate of interest. But the reality is, without knowing the transaction demand for money as well as the speculative demand for money, we cannot say like what Keynes suggested. One cannot determine the rate of interest until the level of income is known. The level of income cannot be determined until the rate of interest is known. One cannot determine the rate of interest until the level of income is known. What Keynes says, DM and SM determine the rate of interest, but One cannot determine the rate of interest until the level of income is known, and the level of income cannot determine until the rate of interest is known. It is solved by Hicks and Hansen via ISLM analysis, simultaneously determining the rate of interest and the level of income. The second, Keynes committed an error in rejecting the real factors as the determinants of interest rate determination. The third, he gives a choice between holding risky bonds and riskless cash. An individual holds either bond or cash, never both. But what Keynes says, he gives a choice between holding risky bonds and riskless cash. In the real world, it's an uncertainty or risk that induces an individual to hold both. This gap, he says, filled up by this gap of Keynes theory is filled up by the James Topping. Fourthly, it has been pointed out that the rate of interest is not purely a monetary phenomenon. Real forces like productivity of capital and thriftness of saving by the people also play an important role in the determination of the rate of interest. He pointed out that the rate of interest is not purely a monetary phenomenon. Real factors like productivity of capital, thriftness or saving by the people also play an important role in the determination of the rate of interest. Another, liquidity preference is not only the factor governing the rate of interest, so several other factors also influences the rate of interest. 6.1, it does not explain the existence of different rate of interest prevailing in the market at the same time, and only explains interest in the short run. In the long run, he doesn't give any clue the rates of interest in the long run. So we conclude, Keynes' liquidity preference tells a lot on income, output and employment of a country. So basic purpose was to demonstrate that a capitalist economy never reach a full employment due to the existence of a liquidity trap. A central bank incapable of reviving a capitalist economy during depression because of a liquidity trap. In other words, monetary policy is useless during deflationary phase of an economy. Okay, thank you.